Hey guys, I just wanted to make a quick video and show you how that you can decorate a cake in under 15 minutes using flavored milk syrups. Here are a few that I made. They're really good and they're really fast. I left everything in this video. I didn't cut anything out so that you could see how fast it actually goes. I use a turntable. I just picked it up at Walmart. Some no skid, a little piece of that no skid mat. My buttercream. Cake boards. I picked these up at Walmart. I use a flat spatula. That's just what I've grown accustomed to using. A lot of people use this offset spatula. I've never gotten the knack for using this thing, so I just stick with my straight one. Now here's the key to what makes this all go so well, is this scraper. It is wonderful. I have found several others. This one, it's horrible. I can't use it. I don't know what it is about it, but I can't use that one. I've used these a lot too, and they're okay. They just don't leave as crisp of a finish on the cake as this metal one does. So I start by putting just a dollop of the icing down on my board. I always freeze my cake before I ice it. It just makes the whole process much easier. Even if I'm going to use it that same day, I will bake it early enough in the day so that I can freeze it before I start to ice it, because it truly makes the icing process so much easier if you will freeze your tiers before you ice them. You'll just put a generous amount of icing. Just make sure it's a level amount. That's going to be one of the keys too to decorating this cake so quick and easy, is putting a generous amount of icing on it. It's going to feel like you're just globbing it on, and you are, and you're just kind of raking it back off, but it just helps it to be, it helps it to go on easier when you want to scrape it back off with your bench scraper. You add your second tier. Again, you put a big dollop of the icing. We're just going to just ice very generously the top, the sides. You can see from the time on this video, it's under 15 minutes, and that even includes me adding pictures and the title and the credits in. So it's under 15 minutes you can have a cake decorated like this. You just keep adding your frosting on there to get a good base coat. You want to get a completely covered in this base coat. It's actually called a crumb coat, and it kind of holds all your crumbs in, so that you don't get any crumbs showing up in your final icing. I just go back and scrape all the extra off the board that I got on the board, and then I start with my scraper. You'll just place it flat on your board and gently press it up against your cake, and just turn your cake around and around until you're pleased with how much you've scraped it back down. You'll notice that you're going to have some spots where you have dents and stuff. That's what I'm showing. You just go back with your icing, add more icing until you get all these places filled in. Once you get all those places filled in, you will come back with your scraper again. I had a low spot there on the top, and I'm just going back and putting some icing on it. You'll come back in with your scraper. You're going to smooth that down again. Make sure you keep your scraper level on the board, and that way you're taking, the same amount off down the whole side of the cake. This goes, really fast. I mean, 15 minutes, that's not bad. Now you'll take your spatula and you'll pull the edges to the middle to clean those edges up. You just pull it and clean it off, pull it, clean it off, pull it, and clean it off. That really makes a big difference too. There was a low spot there, and I'm going back and touching it with some more frosting. It seems like you kind of do this, you put it on just to take it right back off, but it really does shape up pretty quickly doing it this way by putting it on and scraping it back down and putting it on. I'm going to clean those edges again. And at this point, I'm going to put it in the freezer for just a few minutes to let that stiffen up. And then I'm going to come back with another layer of my icing. I was working on several this day so that it allowed me to have one in the freezer cooling so that I could ice the next one. So it actually was a very quick process that day. It's always good when you can work on them staggered out like that. Just glob that icing on. You'll see when I start with the scraper this time that it really starts to shapen up when I scrape it this time. I do this a total of 3 different times. I ice it, scrape it, put it in the freezer, ice it, scrape it, put it in the freezer, and then ice it, scrape it, and put it in the freezer one last time. See, it's really starting to clean up well. I'm going to take and clean those edges up again. You just pull it in toward the middle, clean off your blade, pull it in, clean it off, pull it in, clean it off. It's not hard at all. It's just a little bit. You'll get better at it each time you do it, obviously. But it is just kind of learning the style, you know how it feels to do this. The top didn't look as smooth as I wanted it to, so I added some more icing. And then here I go with one more final. It was cold enough at this point that I didn't have to stick it back in the freezer in between my second and third coat. That's the good thing about it being frozen. It just stiffens your icing up almost immediately as it touches it and helps you get this crisp, clean edge on it. And you'll see with this final scraping, it really starts to look nice. Now back to the cleaning the edges up. See, it really started to take shape at this point. Now you could go on and do it one more time and make it exactly, perfect if you're going to leave it for your buttercream finish. But I knew I was going to be using the flavored milk syrups, so I didn't get it as smooth as I would have if I were leaving it as a buttercream finish. And one more spot I didn't like. Added a little bit more icing. And that was it. I didn't clean this edge up completely this last time because I'm going to end up piping some icing on that edge, so it doesn't have to be exactly clean at that point. Now, you haven't lost your mind. This cake is about to change colors because I forgot to turn the camera back on as I finished this one. So I turned it back on as I finished a different one. And this is exactly what I did on all of them. You just take a piping bag and whatever tip you want to use. I used a big star tip and I piped around the edges. You pipe the bottom first because you're going to want your milk to drain down and get in it too. I'm sorry if this video seems long, but I did want to leave it in real time so that you could see how quickly this really does go. Now you're going to take your milk syrup, this is strawberry, and you're just going to be real careful and pour just a little bit over the side. Don't pour too much because this stuff runs worse than water. And then it gets thick as it sits for just a little bit, but just pour just a little bit to make it run down the sides of it. And now you're going to take your bag and just pipe along that top edge. Just kind of cleans all those edges up. You could leave it like this if you wanted to. You see I have a couple of places there where it's starting to pour out onto the board, but that's fine. But if you're not careful, it will go everywhere if you don't make sure you pour just a little bit. And then I took the milk syrup and I just filled the top of it. And there you have it. A pretty decorated cake in under 15 minutes. There were different flavors. I did chocolate, caramel, and strawberry. I hope you can use this idea. Thanks guys for watching.